If you love creating with fall colors, fall patterns, and fall designs, this video is for you. Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel, and in today's video I am sharing a whole bunch of fall themed items from Catherine Pooler Designs' latest release. So let me give you a quick peek at the supplies that they sent me that I'll be working with today. First up is the pumpkin pickup stamps and dies. I love this set because of this cute image of the pickup truck with all of the fall items in it and the little puppy looking out the back window. I just think that's adorable. But it's also got a sunflower, a couple of leaves, and a pumpkin, as well as 3 pretty sentiments, and the dies cut out all the images. This is the fall frames dies. You get 2 different frames that kind of look like a braided cord, and then you get a pumpkin with a stem and a leaf. This is the Joyful Thanks stamps and dies. I love these big, bold, impact sentiments, and the smaller sentiments are sub-sentiments. So all of the large sentiments have dies that match. This is the Sunflower Fields Forever 6x6 pattern paper pad, and you get 24 sheets in 8 unique designs. It's on 80-pound cardstock, which is a nice heavyweight cardstock, and the colors are just gorgeous. Plus, the designs go from very versatile to fall themed, so you get a little bit of everything. I adore this blue and white gingham check and these cute sunflowers. It's all just so much fun. Oh, and plaid. I mean, you can't go wrong with plaid, right? So one of the best things about Catherine Pooler's pattern paper is on the front, it tells you what ink colors of hers that the pattern paper goes well with, which is very handy for matching. This is the Tuscany sequin mix. I love their sequin mixes because there are different sizes of sequins, different colors, almost different shapes, and it all goes well with the pattern paper. Now let's use those supplies to make some cards. For the first card, I'm using the Fall Frames die set as well as the pattern paper. I have the pumpkin die stem and leaf, and I'm cutting out those elements from different pattern paper so I can do kind of a paper pieced die of that pumpkin. I'll also use the frame. Remember I mentioned it's kind of a braided effect. So for this one, I am placing the center back in that frame because I really wanted to see that blue and white gingham that I love so much. Here's polished. This is one of the colors that they recommend that go with the pattern paper. So I thought this would be great for the sentiment, and that bold thankful for you sentiment from the Joyful Thanks stamp set is perfect to die cut out so that you can pop it up as well. I'll also use the polished ink to just swipe a little bit of ink on the outside of those die cuts because they look super cute just as they are with the pattern paper cut out, but it's kind of nice to have a finished edge sometimes. So I have a green also for those leaves just to put a little bit of inking around those edges. I'll cut the foam squares that I have, they're tiny ones, in half so I can pop everything up. The pumpkins, the stems, and those leaves, just little bits of foam tape. And then I decide to move the sentiment down a little bit so it's closer to the pumpkins and there's not so much open space in between them. Last but not least, these sequins go with everything that I mentioned, so I thought they would be a nice touch to add a little bit of shine around the sentiment. For this next card, I really wanted to create a shaker to use those sequins as shaker goodies. So I took one of the fall frames and cut it out of one of the pieces of pattern paper, that beautiful plaid. And once I have that cut out, I can place it and glue it down to an A2 piece of acetate, and that will be my shaker window. I also cut out the braid of the fall frame from brown cardstock that I thought went nicely with that plaid, and I'll place it back into the window. What's really nice is you'll see the clear through the little braided areas, and you'll see the clear in the center, and it just kind of adds that nice touch inside the window. Then I'll have a piece of foam tape going all around the outside of that window, pour my shaker goodies out inside the window, then peel off those back protective layers. I'm only doing one layer of tape. These sequins are not super thick, and I think it will look really nice if they are trapped a little bit, not moving all the way down to the bottom of the card, which kind of drives me crazy sometimes. So then I'll just place a piece of white cardstock on the back, and you can see there's definitely movement, but they're not just all pouring down to the bottom. Next, I stamped the pumpkin pickup images on some alcohol-friendly cardstock, and I'm using Ohuhu markers to color in the smaller images like the sunflower, the 2 leaves, and the pumpkin. So for these, I am using at least 2 colors per area. So 2 colors of green, a couple of colors of yellow, 2 colors of orange, and then I add in some other colors as well, a little bit of brown or tan, just to add a little bit of accents to those leaves and flowers. I have one of the sentiments from the Joyful Thanks sentiment stamp set, and I'll stamp it in embossing ink on white cardstock and cover it with gold embossing powder. This is why I love to have the dies. So you can do lots of fun things like this with the sentiments and then cut them out. You don't have to get it right on the card. This also, being able to cut them out, allows you to pop them up. So I did pop it up over the bottom of that window there, and then I'll pop up all these little images in the corners as well. And it just makes a fun Thanksgiving or thankful card for the fall. I mentioned how much I love the main image of the pumpkin pickup, so I definitely wanted to use that on a card as well. So I am coloring in again this image that was stamped in alcohol-friendly ink on alcohol-friendly cardstock and coloring them in with Ohuhu markers. I love those light blue or turquoise pickup trucks that people use in photographs, especially with pumpkins and fall items. So that's what I'm going for here. And then of course you have to color in the little dog. And for this image, you can also cut it out with dies. And I had one more pumpkin here that I could use on my card as well. So I've grabbed a couple of colors of Catherine Pooler ink to create a sky and grass on the background. And all I'm doing is basic ink blending. I love the look of basic ink blending, especially for a sky where you don't completely make the color opaque. So the little bit of white in between creates that look of clouds in the sky. And then the blended grass creates that rolling hill look. So I'll pop up the truck on that background, which I've cut down to 4x5 1/4 and then matted on some coordinating cardstock, and then pop up the pumpkin, double pop it up so that it sits in front of the truck. And then I've stamped with all my love in black Catherine Pooler ink on top. For this next card, I really wanted to focus on the pattern paper. So I have an ink pad and I'm cutting out one side of the fall frames die cuts so that I can use it as kind of a trim underneath the pattern paper, and I'll just trim off the excess on the back once it's adhered down to my A2 white cardstock. That gives me an opening at the bottom, which is perfect for a sentiment and maybe a few little images as well. But it really gives the leaf pattern paper the ability to be the star of the show. So I've stamped a sentiment from the pumpkin pickup stamp set, and I have those little images, the pumpkin and the 2 leaves, as well as using an embellishment tool and some liquid glue to adhere down sequins all around that area. And once I got done with that, I thought, wouldn't it be cool, since the sequins match the colors of the pattern paper, to put small sequins on some of the leaves. So all of the green leaves got a teeny tiny little green sequin. This really didn't take as long as it sounds when I'm explaining it, but I really liked the look, especially because they match so well. It's so fun to have elements that coordinate so well together, so you don't really have to think about color coordinating anything. I liked that basic design so much that I'm going to do it again for this card, only this time I'm using orange peel ink, which is another color that will match with all of these pattern papers. And I make a big swipe of that and then a small swipe of a couple of different greens so that I can cut out those pumpkins, leaves, and stems from the fall frames dies. This time I've cut out 3 different pumpkins, 3 stems, and 3 of the leaves. I'll just add a little bit of coordinating ink around the edges just to add a little accent. And those stems adhere perfectly down behind the pumpkin. They sit right in the center of the little area where the pumpkin kind of goes inward, and it just looks so adorable. It's so easy to put together. I just love those little pumpkins. One of the things about fall that I absolutely love is pumpkins. So this time I have 2 larger pieces of pattern paper, the largest on the top, the medium size on the bottom, and then a thin strip of pattern paper in between those 2 as my trim. And it really does almost look like a ribbon running in between that pattern paper. Now I stamped and heat embossed in white the sentiment, and I thought it was kind of getting lost on the background. So I tried another sheet, since you get like 4 sheets of each pattern. I tried another sheet with black pigment ink and then some clear embossing powder on top to really make it stand out. So I have both. I just decided to go with the black, and I'll just cover up the other one with this other piece of pattern paper with the sentiment in black. And it's a little shiny too from the clear embossing powder. I think that helps it stand out from the back, and I like that a lot better. So don't throw anything away. You can always fix things when you see something like that. I, for one, am dreaming of fall, especially for the cooler weather. But I'd love to know if anything from this fall release caught your eye today. Let me know in the comments below. YouTube thinks you might be interested in checking out this video next. Thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm coming or going, really, honestly, right now. So let me give you a quick peek. Oh dear. And I'll see you again. I was gonna say I'll see you again cool.